we have our moderator, Dr. Subba Rao Pavuluri, Chairman and Managing Director, Ananth Technologies with us. Respected sir, please, it's an honor to have you with us. Can you please come on stage?
Good afternoon and namaskar. Distinguished participants, young students, and of course, I see also a lot of many startups around this year. I must thank Mr. Kuti and Mr. Jairam, who have been good friends of mine from ISRO days, to invite me, and KTX to invite me for this seminar and to give an opportunity to speak a few words about the space and entrepreneurship. In fact, I come from Kerala in the sense that, I studied in Kerala. I'm sure that, in the morning we sent an MOU with the NIT, and that is about setting up the space laboratory with the NIT. So I studied here. So therefore, that is something like a very great feeling for me to come back to Kerala and speak on this occasion on that. And I must thank KTX for inviting me for this. Thank you all. And the subject that given to me to speak is very, very heavily loaded subject. That is something like what you said is navigating entrepreneurial frontiers in space exploration and commercial ventures. Very, very heavy loaded. And to cover that entire thing in a few minutes will be very, very difficult on that part. Therefore, what I choose to bring to your notice is something related to how the space program has evolved over a period of time in this country and how the industry participation happened in that area to space programs. That's how the industries have been developed by the ISRO itself on that in the process. Subsequently, how the liberalization happened in the space sector like any other sector in this country. Then what are the space reforms? Then what's going to be the space law? Then what's going to be the kind of a market that's available for the entrepreneurs to be in? I would like to cover a few points of this kind in this. As you know, of course, in Kerala, everything is plenty. Plenty in the sense samruddhi. Plenty means entrepreneurship itself is very, very plenty in full in Kerala. Education is plenty. Then water is plenty. Everything is plenty here. And I must say that the space program took birth here. That's also happened in plenty in Samruddhi in Kerala. And as you know, the first we started in Tumba with experimental things, few things like, the atmospheric measurements using a few rockets. That gave birth to our ASL, ASLV, PSLV, of course SLV, ASLV, PSLV, GSLV, and of course now the small launch vehicle, small satellite launch vehicle also has been developed in Kerala. This is something which enabled the design coming from the ISRO, and they developed a lot of industries also here. And those who had the entrepreneurial spirit, they got into the space program for two reasons. The one is not that commercially going to be viable, that's why they got into this program during that time. It is more of a pride, national pride that were involved into the space program, so they got into the space program onto that. That's why the Indian space program developed nearly about 400 industries in this respect, and most of the industries are in southern part of the country, and of course in Kerala too. I took the clue from that. Of course, I left my job and started a company that deals with the space-related activities. And as you know, the space has three large segments. One is the launch vehicle, the other one is a satellite, and the third one is satellite applications. In these three areas, ISRO developed not only the launch vehicle, but along with the launch vehicle, it also started working on the satellite programs. You must imagine the kind of entrepreneurial spirit of those who manage the space program in this country from the very beginning, how this happened. Launch vehicle to put the satellite into the orbit. Then we need satellites. The satellites of different types. We started with the Bhaskara, then that various development projects of that kind. Then they gave rise to INSAT series of satellites and Earth observation series of satellites. And we look at these Earth observation systems also, how we developed again, the resolution being the very low resolution to begin with, and that gave rise to the high resolution satellites subsequently. And also the communication satellite, like INSAT, GSAT kind of series of satellites have been developed in that. So we can see that how that simultaneously launch vehicle program and also that of the satellite programs are developing in the country. At the same time, they also start working on various mission that is related to the technology development programs. The technology development programs, you will see that we went to the Mars, we had the Chandrayana programs and the moon programs. Then we have recent one is about Chandrayana program 3, in which that we landed on the moon. Here I must make a small statement that when we received the independence in 1947, we are not sure how many people are happy in this country, in the sense that many people in the remote areas may not be knowing what is the importance of independence in the country. But when you landed on the Chandrayaan part, every Indian, 140 crores Indians, watched keenly on the TVs how this is happening on that. And everybody developed the kind of a sense temper in that. That is the kind of blessings of 140 crores people for Indian space program to land under the moon. That was something great that happened in this country. And that too we choose to land on the South Pole, which is very, very difficult task, which others did not attempt to do that. So that way, instead of India becoming one among the 5, which is normal nomenclature which we have been talking about all along, we become number 1. And the present government, they are also looking for to become the number 1 in every sector onto that. Unfortunately today, as you know, the economy is also doing extremely well. And whereas American economy and European economy had their own problems, and the Indians has the plenty of hard work that is getting into this. Therefore, the government of India also thought that this program, which has ecosystem already been developed in the country, must be more liberalized in the sense that more private industries to be involved into it. That means more participation from the people into the space program, not only for just scientists alone on that. So with that view, they brought in the kind of a reforms in this sector, and the reforms while announcing that, the Prime Minister has clearly mentioned that here is an opportunity for the government organizations and the private industries coming together. Then when they come together, he says, sky is not the limit. That's what the Prime Minister said during his address when the liberalization is happening subsequently on that, while inaugurating InSpace. Here the point here is, the government of India did enough of activity in terms of promoting the space sector in the government, and all of us are the products of that. Entire ecosystem has been created. Now it is for the people, for the industry to come forward to work on that, so that ISRO can concentrate more on the research and development programs and planetary programs like that, going to the Mars, Chandrayaan program, Gaganyaan programs, like very many programs of that kind, and the scientific experiments, and reaching more on the R&D, research and development, and the fundamentals of the space-related activities. Whereas the private industry can take up more on in terms of operation of those space programs in that. That is, we need today for the country and many Earth observation systems that require high resolution and also require many other different types of payloads for covering the entire country, such a vast country in this country. Similarly, we also need many applications where we need a lot of need for the satellites in the defense sector too. And when you look at this, again, communication sector, last mile connectivity becomes very, very important. So therefore, building up the more satellites for last mile connectivity also become very important. So instead of government paying the money for that, instead of using the taxpayers' money, it is the private initiative can put the investments into that, like whatever is happening in the infrastructure areas, like that of airports and highways are being built by the private sector. The similar way that's also happening in the space sector too in this. That's where a lot of opportunities for a lot of youngsters now to come forward to express their entrepreneurship in terms of building things. Number one, in terms of satellite itself, very many opportunities in terms of looking at the different types of payloads and different types of satellites and building up the constellation of small satellites, building up the various communication satellites for last mile connectivity and content that goes along with that. And similarly in the launch vehicle area, building up the different types of launch vehicles. And all of you should know that this is not just only one subject that matters here. All subjects, that engineering subjects, including humanities and the science subjects, also can be actively play a role in this. So therefore, as the entrepreneurship is concerned, each one of you, in fact, I strongly believe as an entrepreneur myself that in India, about 140 crore population, about 120 crore population in India, which are not working in the government, in the private sector, all of them are entrepreneurs by themselves. And this entrepreneurship has to be further explored. And I'm glad that something like a KTX is encouraging the students to get familiar with various technologies, various opportunities in this. And in this, I kindly note that space is also one sector where immense opportunities are there into it. So therefore, opportunities in this sector are not only launch vehicle and satellite, but also in the applications area. Applications here you talk about the water resource development, then soil related, then groundwater related, surface water related, and urban related activities, including the advocates, they use satellite data effectively into their dispute resolutions because satellites don't bluff. Like this, very many opportunities in this area. And I'm sure that the entrepreneurship that's available within Kerala, as I told you, everything being plenty here. I'm sure you come up with opportunities, take up these opportunities and actually get involved because Kerala is the birthplace for space sector in the country. In fact, I want to more of an interactive session with you because normally in seminars, when the questions are, some clarification are needed, I always, it is said that, well, time is up, only one question, two questions like that. I think I don't want to cover entire 30 minutes of my time for this. Instead of that, I would like to have more interactive session with youngsters. What they look at it, how they want it, what are the questions that they have in their mind. Perhaps I have my other colleagues also from ISRO here. They can also clarify on this. Shall we make it more interactive?
So I am also was a student in RC Calicut during 72 services. We had met in Hyderabad last month.
Okay.
So I would like to ask one question. So how much we have to invest to get into the ownership of this space technology for making satellite and all? How much we have to invest?
To be an entrepreneur, to work in an area, investment is not the one that comes into the way or otherwise. The first thing is idea. Now, in this respect, the reform that we have to the space sector will help us in terms of understanding what it is. ISRO has created enough of facilities for the launch vehicle side, testing side, and similarly satellite side, and also in the applications areas. Huge amount of money has gone into creating the facilities. If an idea, you want to do something along with that, you can also make use of the facilities already created. So therefore, it's not that you are looking for enormous investment into that. A simple example, for example, in mechanical area, you want to do something on that part. This one way is you buy the CNC machines, use of that part, okay, and then start manufacturing it. Instead of that, there are also ideas where you can also create an idea. Then that idea also can get into that. As you know, the space is not one sector, either mechanical, electronics, it can be propulsion, it can be many other areas, including how the orbital positions has to be done onto that. Situational awareness in the space. Many ideas can be there. So therefore, we can make use of the facilities available in ISR itself on that. So investment is never a hurdle for anything to start in any industry, particularly in the space industry. Because ISR was very friendly with every enterprise that works in the country on that. Did I? Okay. Right.
Any more questions? Yes. Yeah. We have a mic there.
Hi, good afternoon. So as you had mentioned, the space sector has really opened up. So my doubt is, with the way things are going, with the growth that we are witnessing, how far away are we from having an Indian version of SpaceX?
Why are you comparing with the SpaceX? What is big about the SpaceX? I want to engage in a conversation with you. I would like to put it slightly differently, that question onto that. It is a lot of propaganda that's happening on the SpaceX that they're going to launch a satellite, they're going to create the constellation of satellites and things like that in that. Even in India, there are many companies who are coming up with the constellation of satellites. The constellations are in the civilian application, they're also into the top defense applications. Many people are coming forward on that. You must understand the main difference between what's happening in the American economy and American governmental thinking, what's happening in Indian economy and Indian government thinking, that we should have a little distinction between the two. As you know, in India we started with the British era, and the same mindset is continuing in the government, many of the governments still onto that. You know, if you understand how the SpaceX has come into the picture, there's a space station, and there's an agreement between America and Russia to take the goods to the space station. Russia was doing with ease, whereas American turn come up, American launch vehicle failed, they didn't have anything else to do that, but there's a commitment on the part of the American government that they should take these goods to the space station. Therefore, that was the time when the SpaceX, Elon Musk came into the picture, and he said he will build the launch vehicle. Then even before he started building the launch vehicle, for doing that activity, American government funded him for 3 launch vehicles. Can you imagine that happen in India? Can you imagine that kind of a thing in Kerala at all? Where we talk more about, though we have a kind of awareness, the restrictive environment that have been in this country. That was the problem. That is, in other words, the encouragement from the government is very, very important in this sector on that. See, when Vikram Sarabhai started his space program in India, it was Nehru and others, they supported him fully on that. He understood that, they understood that this is something important the country is going to achieve because of this. They funded that. And the people like Vikram Sarabhai, etc., the ISRO guy, they worked so hard. From nowhere they created a situation. When this could happen, with little governmental support, with so much of economics in place, don't you think that we can create something better than SpaceX if the same mindset is, positive mindset is prevailing in this country?
Yes, but my question was, are we very far off, or is the day near when we can see something like that come up?
Yeah, that's good. That's already existing in the country. That's what I want to tell you. For launching the satellites, we have the Sriharikota, the island, the entire thing has been created. Recently, last week, only the Prime Minister inaugurated something in Kulasekhara near Tuticorin. These 2 centers can cater the needs of the entire world today. That's why the PSLVs, Indian PSLV, have been used for launching of the foreign satellites. Nearly 388 satellites have been launched under the PSLV. And similarly, for the GSL, which is under development part of it, we launched the satellites for OneWeb. Recently, about 40 in series have been launched onto that. So therefore, there is an opportunity, there is also capability here in this country on that. But SpaceX, anything white is good, no? So therefore, we only talk about the SpaceX. We must talk about the Indian industry.
Any more questions?
One question.
Okay.
So my name is Nazim. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been running a technology company for last 18 years in Kochi. My question is, for companies that have been working on technology areas without an exposure to space science or technologies related to space or satellites, what's the possibility for companies like us to enter into space and related business areas? Or is it even possible at all?
No, I didn't get your question fully, but what is the technology you are in now?
So we are primarily a software engineering, hardware, firmware development, GIS. So that's the area of services and technology that we deal with.
They're all part of a space program only. For example, you are talking about the hardware. Two types of hardware, mechanical hardware and the electronics hardware. Both goes into the space program. For example, designing the payload that's required for a satellite, or designing an onboard computer for a launch vehicle, or the telemetry, for the launch vehicle, a telemetry for the satellite, command and control, sensors, all these come from the same similar technologies on that. Similarly, when we talk about the GIS part of it, we have in India excellent space program in the applications area. For example, your GIS, Geographic Information System, is the layers of information that's coming from the Earth observation systems, satellites on that. For example, we are taking an urban area like this, or you take it in the groundwater area. The groundwater, to define the availability of groundwater or potential groundwater zones. So what are the information that we require? We need to know about the geology of the area, geography of the area, land use of the area. Then based upon some other parameters, we determine the groundwater potential in the region on that. In fact, the government of India, particularly ISRO, had a program earlier called Rajiv Gandhi Technology Mission, in which all the states have been covered. Then the groundwater potential has been identified, that was given to them, that 1:50,000 scale. Subsequently, now it's coming up, each state is coming up, on 1:10,000 scale, they were to be mapped on that. That means the groundwater potential zones, then identification of zones, particularly where we have to dig, etc. This will reduce the effort of the common man in the ground by using the space technology. Therefore, the point that we are mentioning, but all of them are extremely useful in the space technology. In turn, space technology can be used for the development of the country using those technologies.
So how can we get connected?
You don't get connected. Suppose you are a soap manufacturer in industry. How do you sell your soap? You think of connectivity, various other things part of it, like this. Earlier, the entire responsibility lying with the government of India in terms of resources management. Today, many private investments also coming up in that area. I'll give one example to you. In Kerala, there is one company laying the gas pipeline. So, any gas pipeline to lay that part of it, we need to know what's happening in that surrounding areas. Fortunately, they got in touch with us because of our experience of dealing with this kind of activity, pipelines. And we prepared the entire land use category, the part of it, then transfer the pipeline onto the ground, verified them on the ground, and put that, what is the engineering requirements, all that happened on that. What I meant to say is, earlier we started working for oil corporations in India. Now there are a lot of private companies also coming up in similar areas. Similarly, in urban development part, for example, in the urban development, there are private initiatives for developing the cities. There are also the government initiatives on that. So it all depends upon how you get connected into that.
Understood. Okay. Thank
So
you.
marketing is important. You have to market yourself on that.
Understood. Thank you.
Maybe I can tell you one small story. So people come in the similar areas for me for my advice. For a problem, what I do is, I tell them a cow story. The cow story is something like, in a high school, when a student is studying, he learned only to write essay on cow. That cow has 4 legs, cow gives the milk, etc., blah, 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 kinds of things. But unfortunately for him, in his examination, he didn't get the cow story. He was asked to write about airplane. But he does not know anything about aeroplane. So what he said was, there's a pilot, he's going through, then he saw the ground, then he found a cow there, cow gives the 4 legs, gives the milk, blah, 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 he went on onto the cow. Similarly, whoever comes to me for a problem on the issue, what I do is, I look at them, if the 2-dimensional is involved into that, there's a solution from satellite. We'll pitch our model to them on that. Okay? I mean, like this, I can tell you many more stories on that. We have 30 years of experience as a private industry in this area. When there was a permit quota Raj in this country, when I mean there is no liberalization, I think happened that was the time. I took plunge to do something in this area. We could survive in that area. I'm happy to say that we survive very well in the liberalization era. Okay? So you have more opportunities now.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me take the next question, sir. So as an aspiring entrepreneur and as a student, I have observed that space tech startups had a boom in India. All over, lot of startups have been established in India, all over India, especially focusing on Hyderabad, Bangalore, and also some remote sensing satellite space startups in other cities also. And but talking about Kerala, as you said, Kerala is a place where ISRO and other space programs are started. But from Kerala, there are no such space startups as well. But some of the student entrepreneurs tried for that, but we couldn't make it that much. Some of them I know personally, but we didn't make it that much. What are your suggestions, or what may be the problems for the ventures in space sector, especially from Kerala, to building to the next level, or taking the step to the next level? And for the aspiring entrepreneurs in space sector from Kerala, what are your suggestions for them? What students or what the new graduate products can do in this space sector?
See, startup name is something very newly coined. That means somebody wants to be on his own to be create an industry. That's a startup part of it. The ecosystem in Kerala perhaps earlier was not very suitable for industries in this location. That's the reason like KTX today is talking about more innovations. And we have the digital university, first of its kind in the country here. Then we have the startup ecosystem. There is another agency also working on that. There are many agencies working on this in order to change the mindset. In fact, my advice to all the youngsters is working for a job is different. To be on your own is different on that part. To be different on your own, what are required? Like this gentleman asked me a question about investment part of it. Investment these days is not the question at all. Investment is available from many forums. When I started the company, investment is not available. Then I had to mortgage my wife's gold to get something money out of that. The banks will give the money only when you mortgage something to them, isn't it? But these days, at least there is some other ecosystem available. If idea is good, somebody can invest into your idea. Already I know that there are a few companies in Trivandrum, in Cochin, the startup companies working towards this and that. Of course, Hyderabad, there are plenty on that. In generally, I'll say culturally, the people from Andhra, they are more enterprising. I don't want comparison part of it, but the point here is, seeking job is different. Working for an enterprise is different. That mindset from the very beginning, one should have into that. It's of a cultural mindset that matters on that. So that's why Mr. Kuti and all of them are doing a lot of activities here on that to bring out that change. Okay.
And along with Kutisa and Jaram sir, now you are also guiding us. Thank you for that.
I hope we'll wrap the questions. Any more questions from the crowd? Yes. Okay, we'll wrap up.